Good morning. Welcome to the last day, well, officially the last lecture for this quarter. Okay. Friday, not going to have class. I will be available for students, for answering questions in my office. Um, and then final is next week. I'll go over the final for today and then what you can expect on the final and the approach that you should take for preparing for the final exam. Okay. Yes. Yes. I'll be question being asked is, are there any office hours during finals week? I will be here. I will be available. Okay. So let's go into the final exam page first. All right. Uh, I'm assuming at this point everybody has you viewed the final exam page at least once. This has been posted on there since the beginning of the quarter. There are minor things that needed to be updated, which was a form. But let's first start with your exam time. Okay. In case students are not aware, final exam schedules are set by the university well in advance. So if you do a internet search, you can look up the schedules not only for fall, you can look it up for winter as well as spring. And this is public information. Anybody anywhere in the world can view the final exam schedule for any university, or at least in the US, any public university, because they're published on the internet. Okay. So our Cal Poly final exam schedule is here. And again, this has been posted on here since the beginning of the quarter. So that's fall. I just want to show you, you have all these calendars for next year and the year after that. You can always look up. Then there's final exam schedules here. You can see final exam schedule for fall 25, winter 26, and spring 26. So you can look up your final exam for any class that you have in the winter as well as the spring well in advance. All right, coming back to our class. Our class is at 10 o'clock. So the way to read this is we have a Monday, Wednesday, Friday class. Begins at 10 a.m. So our exam is on Wednesday, December 10th from 10:10 to 1 p.m. That's the official chunk of time that is scheduled by the university. Okay. So there is no time conflict. As long as all instructors across the university adhere to these times, there should not be any time conflict for any student. So when we get to our form, you will see 201 Wednesday, 12:10 from 10:30 to 12:30. That fits. That's 2-hour exam. It's not 110 minutes. I'm providing students 120 minutes for this exam. It's designed from the student's perspective. The exam is designed to be completed within 90 minutes, and I give an extra 30 minutes on top of that. So students have a full 120 minutes to get it done. Okay. And it's within the time frame of 1:10 to 4, it's 10:10 to 1 p.m. So it's within that time frame. Okay, that's our official time. Now, all right, let's take a pause. Let me know if you have any questions. This information clear to everyone? Okay. And again, this information also has been on here since the beginning of the quarter. Now, if you do not wish to take it at this time, you have a conflict, maybe you want to get done earlier, or you want to have more time to prepare, then there are 3 other options. I teach 3 other classes right here in this room. And so the other classes are listed right here. 306, Monday from 1:30 to 3:30, Wednesday 1:30 to 3:30, and Friday 1:30 to 3:30. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, between 1:30 and 3:30, I will be here right here in this room. So if any of you wish to take the exam at any of those 3 times, you can do so. All you need to do is submit this form that is here at the end of the page and let me know. You can submit this form until write until Wednesday or even later if you wish. Okay. If you submit the form, you wish an alternative time, and then at the last minute you change your mind, that is also fine. The primary reason I need the form is so that I know who is going to show up so that I have enough exams printed. Okay. So again, it's paper-based. There is no tablet writing on this one. All students will write on paper. I need to print enough exams, so I need to know in advance how many students are showing up. Okay. So just submit the form and let me know. There's plenty of space in the room. I do not foresee any issues. I've been doing this for several quarters now, or several years actually. I've never had any issues with providing space to all students. So there's plenty of space around in this room. And if need be, I can open up the room next door also. Okay. Any questions about these options? Does everybody understand? Okay. If you're taking at your designated time, which is the class designated time, Wednesday between 10 and 1, this is the official university time, right? So if you're taking the exam at this time, you do not need to fill out the form. Please do not fill it out. Okay? That just causes more entries in the form, right? You only submit the form if you wish for an alternative time. Otherwise, do not submit the form. All right, final exam is comprehensive, it's cumulative, it's not optional. There's no dropping of the final exam, meaning if you do not show up for the final exam, it is counted as a 0. So it drops your grade. If you're at an A without the final exam, it drops it to a C. Right? It's worth 25% of your overall grade. It's not a small chunk, but it's not an outsized effect on your overall grades. So it's not 30%, 35, or some professors like to keep it at 50%. So just in case a student has a bad day and mess up the final, score less than 50% on the final does not have a big effect on your overall grade as long as you have done all the homework assignments and all the quiz assignments. Okay, so it's worth 25% of the overall grade. Similar format to what we have seen in the quizzes. If I ask you for a particular method in the question, then you must show me that particular method. The logic behind it is that we are required to teach certain topics based on the ABET syllabus. We have to follow those guidelines, and then we are required to assess the student's knowledge of those topics. So if I ask you to solve it using node voltage analysis, we are trying to see and assess the student's understanding of node voltage analysis. If you solve it using superposition, I have no basis for assessment. And so that's an automatic 0 for that topic. Okay, so if a question states a particular method, you must solve it using that method. I always award partial credit. So if your final answer is incorrect, but the method is correct, if the analysis steps are correct, then you still receive nearly the full credit, except for errors in calculations. Units are important. If you miss units, again, points will be deducted. Unit prefixes also matter. Micro, nanofarads is different from megafarads, right? So unit prefixes also matter. The missing units will have deductions. Missing unit prefixes, of course, means it's an incorrect value. So that will also be a point deduction. Yes.
When you say, you know,
Yes. Yes. So a question being asked is about the format. The format is, yes, I will provide templated formats in the final exam. That's what I mean. Also, what I mean in the format is that the questions would be similar to what we have seen in the quizzes. Circuits would be different, but the questions would follow kind of the similar pattern. And that's what I meant. Yes. Yes, it is open book, open notes like the quizzes. You can have your electronic devices, exactly the same format as quizzes. You can access anything you want. Internet access is restricted to course material only, which means no AI tools, no software. If you wish to use an online calculator, that is fine. Like say for system of equations, you can use the preference would be to use your own calculator devices. If you forget it, if you run out of battery, only in those cases, I will permit students to use a website for calculations, but no other purpose. You cannot look up any answers. You cannot dial a friend for help, stuff like that. So again, in that way, it's similar format to quizzes, but it's open book, open notes. No need for equation sheets. You can look up your homework. You can look up the lecture videos. All of that is fine. All of that is counted as course material, but not anything else outside of that. All right, so what is it that I'm going to assess? It's listed right here. It's only chapters 1, 2, and a little bit of 3. There's no chapters 4, 5, or 6. Okay, so there is no transient analysis, AC analysis, or power. The AC analysis and power, we just did a 50-minute quiz, and so which is within the last couple of weeks. And so those will not be assessed on the final exam. Primarily what we're looking at is DC analysis of resistors. So starting with Ohm's law, KVL, KCL. These three are the fundamental laws on which the entire course is structured, right? So these three laws are the most important. So you need to know and apply Ohm's law, KVL, and KCL. And then power and energy. Okay, these are the 5 most important things. So 3 laws, and then the quantities of power and energy. Every student must be able to calculate power in a circuit or any component that is given in there, whether it's resistors, capacitors, or inductors. Okay, and understand the concept of positive power and negative power. Means energy is being received or energy is being sent. Then resistors in series and parallel should be able to reduce circuits to a single equivalent resistance, REQ. Voltage division, current division. These are not maybes. Okay, whatever is outlined here is guaranteed to appear on the final exam. I'm not saying that I will pick and choose what I'm saying all of these are going to be there on the final exam. This is what you need to study. Okay. So Ohm's law, KVL, KCL, power, energy, all of this is going to be there in the final exam. Resistors in series and parallel, combining resistors in series and parallel, reducing it, finding REQ, that will be there. Voltage division, current division, which means students need to apply voltage division principle, be able to write the equation directly. I'll take a pause for now. Let me know if you have any questions. Yes. So a question being asked is about a problem. Yeah, it's one single problem. It's one single problem spread across at least 4, if not more, pages. So the pro or the advantage of having such a problem is that there's only one single circuit. You're analyzing that same circuit. Okay, but within that problem, it assesses everything. So for instance, chapter 2, we are listed Thevenin and Norton equivalent circuits. And so I will most likely ask you to find the Thevenin voltage or Norton current, either using node voltage or mesh current. Okay, so it'll assess, you'll have one problem, I'm going to ask you find the Thevenin and the Norton equivalent circuits for that circuit. And then for one specific quantity, I will ask node voltage. The other specific quantity, I will ask mesh current. He had his hand up first, and then you next. So let me understand the question. Question being asked is if you use a different symbol or different notation, would it? Okay. I see what you're saying. So if you let's say, instance, if you're applying KVL or KCL, instead of using the voltage source as a negative, you use a positive and generate your equation. That is fine. That is absolutely fine. I mean, when I sit down to assess the equations, it doesn't really matter how a student applies the equations. And I believe I've gone over that in class as well as in the posted lecture videos. Um, we can apply KVL several different, well, two different ways. Some of the voltage is clockwise or counterclockwise, and you can take a voltage jump and a voltage drop. So either ways, the equation will turn out to be the same. So it doesn't matter how students would write it out. Yeah, good question. Yes. Sure. So, okay, question being asked is how complicated is the circuit going to be? From my perspective, not at all. It's not going to be it's not going to be like a really big circuit with like 10 different resistors in there. Actually, in to the point of to address your point of the quiz, one of the circuits that I used in the quiz with it's a repeated same circuit, and that had I think 6 resistors. Um, I don't think I haven't designed the exam yet, but I don't think I'll be going more than 3 or 4 resistors. So it'll be yeah, maximum 3, maximum 4 resistors. That's it. Won't be more than that. So I will address that question in a moment. But any questions about chapters 1 and 2? Oh, one other thing I've not listed here. Let me change it right now. Superposition. So superposition is a possibility. So let me write and add that. So this, yeah, I'm writing it down. I'm 50-50 split right now. I haven't decided. Again, I try to design it so that it fits from the student's perspective. It should be doable within 90 minutes. And so because superposition tests several concepts. Superposition is not just the technique, it also tests the technique of how you can or how we can reduce or deactivate a source and set it to 0. So that's the concept it's testing. It's not just the technique. Okay, so it's an important technique. So yeah, I'm split right now as of now, 50%. I might have it if I can fit it within the 90 minutes, or I might have, I don't know. I need to sit down over the weekend and decide what to do. But students definitely need to know. So as of now, you prepare for it as if it's going to be on the final. Okay. All right. Second one, sorry, the second problem or the question is about physical construction of capacitor and inductor, and that are those two equations. Capacitor is capacitance value is epsilon A over D. Remember that equation? How do we physically construct a capacitor and how do we physically construct an inductor? Those equations. So those are other simple and straightforward problems. And then, of course, how can we add capacitors and inductors in series and parallel? Okay. So only that from chapter 3, nothing else. Yes. It's just open, not open. Yeah. Every student can decide for themselves on what they need for success. So equation sheet would be provided if it's going to be closed book, closed notes. So it's open book, open notes. You have everything at And every student has, everything at their disposal, and they can decide for themselves what they need to do. Okay. All right. So other questions? All right. Emphasis is on these topics. Everything else except superposition is guaranteed at this point. Superposition, to make it easier on the students, I'll decide within a day or two. Okay. And I'll update this page. Within 2 days, that possibly could remain on there or it could be removed. If it's removed, it's guaranteed to be on there. Okay. Question? Okay. All right. Prep, in-class solved examples, quizzes, homework, lecture slides, videos. All of this will also be accessible to students during the exam. So again, if you wish to review something, if you wish to review the lecture videos or something during exam time, just bring a pair of headphones. And that's fine with me. Okay, it's open book, open notes. Calculator is permitted. Digital devices with internet are permitted. Usage is restricted to course material only, including lecture videos, online quizzes, homework, etc. In case you forget your calculators or something happens to your calculator devices, I will permit usage of online or web-based calculators. No software tools, no AI, no other websites. Okay, is everybody clear on these restrictions? All right, and then at the end is the form. Only submit the form if you wish for an alternative time. Okay, Cal Poly scheduled time is when your exam takes place. If you are taking it at that time, you do not need to do anything except show up for them. Okay. Yes. This classroom, yes. That's so. Question being asked is, what's the location? The location is in the classroom. Typically, for any final exam across the entire university, unless it's like a common final in a different room, it always takes place in that classroom. This avoids time conflict as well as room conflict. Okay. So again, university scheduled final exam dates ensure that the classrooms are also available and the times are also available to all students and instructors. And that's why I always follow the final exam schedule. All right. Is everybody clear on what they need to study and prepare or prep? Okay. I would say start your prep with the first five homework assignments. Those deal with Ohm's law, KVL, KCL, power, and energy. Okay. And even if you have earned a full 100%, go through those, review those again. There are some example problems in the lecture slides also. So go through those, make sure you have a strong understanding. Then you begin with node voltage and mesh current analysis. Okay. In node voltage, we need to apply KCL. So again, that's where the practice would come into the picture. We need to apply KCL to generate equations. Okay. Proceed in the steps that are outlined. Do not skip the steps. First, we have to identify the nodes, assign branch currents to each and every single branch, right? We need to assign a branch current. If we do not assign a branch current, we cannot apply KCL. And then write the KCL expression. If we do these steps, then our answer is bound. I mean, it's certain that you'll arrive at the right answer. Okay. Without assigning branch currents in node voltage analysis, we cannot apply KCL correctly. So do not do that. Okay, do not skip that step. It's a very small step, but it's very important. It's kind of the foundation for the entire analysis. Then when it comes to mesh current analysis, we need to have mesh currents. Those are easier than node voltage analysis. So we can generate mesh equations by applying KVL. Once we generate mesh equations, then everything else is straightforward from that point on. Okay. The concepts that you need to keep in mind: parallel resistors, parallel circuits, series circuits, and series resistors. Short circuits, how to identify a short circuit between two nodes. You have two or more nodes in a circuit. If only wires are connected between those nodes, then they're the exact same electrical node. Okay, that's a concept. Anything in parallel with two nodes in a short circuit is effectively redundant. Short circuit has a resistance of 0. So if you have a resistor in parallel with that short circuit, it's effectively no longer part of the circuit. There were several problems in the homework that addresses or assess this point. Does anybody remember? Hopefully. And then let's see, what other concepts? Mesh current, node voltage, and superposition. In superposition, we reduce sources to 0. Reducing a source to 0 means voltage sources are replaced with a short circuit, current sources are effectively removed on the circuit. So those are concepts that need to be understood. And then when it comes to power, power is either delivered or it's received. If a component is supplying power, if it's supplying energy, it's negative. Mathematically, it's negative. If it's receiving power, receiving energy, and then mathematically, it's positive. So students should be able to calculate these and understand these. Okay. All right. Any final questions? Let's take a pause. So if you have any questions, think over it, let me know. Yes. No. Question is about graphing any information or any data. So no graphing of any data. We are not assessing those topics anyway. So question being asked is, am I going to assess? Actually, that's a very good question. Am I going to assess your critical thinking skills? Meaning trying to lay out the map. One of the downsides of the answer is buried in this. One of the downside of using like a Gradescope template is that it lays out a map of how you need to solve the circuit. So no, the answer is no. It'll be laid out exactly on what steps students need to take to solve it. Yeah. So that's been struggling with using it or not, because if I use that template, it provides a map of how the students need to solve it. So students are not, I wouldn't say not, but I would say kind of not using it as much, not developing their thinking skills as much as they would if there's no map provided. Does that make sense? Right? Because if I provide the final exam template and you have the boxes in there, it tells you exactly what steps you need to take. So no, you don't have to go outside of to figure out how to work it. All right, any other questions? Yes, I went over quiz solutions every time after class. So it's there's in the notebook as well as in the lectures after the quiz. So Monday lectures, let's see, let's bring it up here. Oh, where's it? Oh, wrong class. Wait. So there were, let's see, in content library, if you go to quizzes, wait, that's 115 again, not this one, 201. So for the first two, we didn't discuss this in class, so I posted the solutions right here, quiz 1 and 2. For the others, we discussed the quizzes in class, right after lecture was over. So those were, well, students would have to just go through and, just go through the lecture notes for those discussions, and they were also in the lecture videos. Those are not going to be assessed in the final exam. So chapters 3, 4, 5, 6 are not going to be on the final exam. So AC analysis, AC power are not going to be assessed. Neither is transient analysis. Okay. If there are no further questions, class is over. Use your Friday time for prep work. If you want to catch up on sleep, that's also fine. But I would strongly recommend that you use it to prepare for any of your finals for that matter. Okay. I'm around if there are further questions, but you're free to leave.